where the Education Secretary, Gillian Keegan, has said that school transgender advice may not go far enough. We had the ludicrous story from that preschool up in Hull, where they were showing children pictures in a book which had what were described as pride granddads dressed in bondage gear, because they thought that was a good idea for 4-year-olds. Just bizarre. Meanwhile, the Tavistock Clinic has approved a sex operation for a young person, well, something who, a 22-year-old, we should say, who basically has got so many different mental health conditions and who cannot read or write. Let's find out what's going on. Kellie-Jay, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not at all. This Tavistock Clinic story is a bit weird. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, hang on a minute, I thought they'd shut the Tavistock Clinic down. But I guess they haven't. They've only shut a bit of it down.
Yeah, they shut the bit, apparently, for the more vulnerable patients who are being ushered through this nonsensical medical scandal,
yeah,
and medical harm. But campaigners, certainly sort of Sue and Marcus Evans, who used to both work at the Tavistock, whistleblowers, they've been talking about this for a long time, that actually it's vulnerable adults also that need protecting. I mean, look, my view is if you want to have your body altered and have healthy body parts cut off, then I think the prerequisite for that is to have mental health issues. I don't think anybody arrives at that who doesn't have some significant issues in their life. But in this case, it's particularly stark. And I mean, when are we going to put some of these criminal medical staff in the dock? Because it just seems to me that they have got away. If I did this to a child, if I did this to my own child, or somebody in my care, or a teacher did this in a school, I'm pretty sure we'd be at the point of saying this person needs arresting. Yeah, if they do it at the Tavistock Clinic, if they medically harm people, children and vulnerable adults, apparently it's fine, because it's sort of research and progress.
That's a really good point, actually, because what do you think would happen if you turned up, say, with a, I don't know, 12-year-old child into a GP surgery and said, look, we've been having a long discussion about this, and me and my daughter have decided that she wants to become a man, and therefore I'm recommending that she, you know, basically has all sorts of surgery to ensure that that can happen. What do you think they would say?
Well, I'm hoping I'd be referred very, very quickly to the police for sort of neglect, abuse and actively harming my child. It beggars belief, really, that anybody could sign this off, like anybody could sign this off, let alone really horrendous doctors and people that are just in it for money. But these are people paid by us to take care of us. And they don't seem to be able to do that. And I think it's time we, at the very least, revoke licenses. But I'd certainly like to see some criminal action in this field.
And who are the people who think that you're wrong? Because those who say that actually that should be allowed can't surely believe those actual words that they say. Can't actually think that encouraging children to actively harm their own bodies is a good thing.
Well, no, because those same people, I'm sure, are very much against pro-anorexia websites, and they wouldn't advocate at all for teachers saying to a girl with anorexia who's 14, yes, you are fat, let's get you a nice gastric band. So I think anybody who says that it's okay to allow children to be medically harmed, or in this case, this vulnerable adult to be medically harmed, I think they are stuck in sort of an ideological cul-de-sac, really, that they can't come out of. I don't genuinely think anybody thinks it's all right for this kid.
They
but
can't.
Clearly,
I mean,
somebody's doing it.
I mean, you work much more hard in this area than most people do, and you, at some cost to your own safety sometimes, you know. But I think we all sit around going, you know, thanking you for what you do, but also thinking, how is this actually happening? I mean, I said this to somebody yesterday. We were talking about that crazy story from Hull, where the preschool kids were being shown a book with men dressed in, you know, bondage gear, and the teachers told the parents who objected that they were bigots. And I'm going, sorry, who's pushing this? Who is actually saying what it is that this is the right thing to teach 4-year-olds? Who's pushing it, and why are they pushing it?
Well, there's many answers to that question. One is stupid people, so incompetent cowards helping push this forward. Unthinking people, people that are told, oh, this is an act of kindness, and they go along with it. Unfortunately, it's a lot of women who go along with this. In that particular book, which I have a copy sitting on my shelf, there is also double mastectomy scars. There is also a box of dog pup toys on the high shelf, which I think is a little bit of a nod to men in rubber fetish gear dressed as dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So that book is all levels of wrong.
My God.
But look, I think this is a case of the dereliction of duty. I know we're going to talk about education in a minute, but there has been no guidance. And so these people are left really just grappling with issues that they feel they don't understand, in which case they get somebody else in to talk to children, which is insane. Like, if I didn't understand something and my children needed to know about it, I would learn about it. I wouldn't say outsource that particular sort of knowledge to somebody else.
No, exactly right. And I mean, the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust, when they were asked about this particular case of this individual who is 22, they said this, which is more or less not worth saying. We cannot publicly discuss the situation of any individual patient. We can say that no surgery is available under the age of 18. Well, that's not the question. The question is, what about the 22-year-old with learning difficulties and/or mental health issues? They say where complex or additional needs, such as mental health problems, communication or learning difficulties are identified, more assessment consultations may be appropriate prior to any form of treatment pathway being agreed. Well,
I mean, what if that kid was going and saying, I really hate my ears, could you cut them off?
Yeah.
I really don't like my hand. I feel like my little finger is a burden to me, and totally, I don't identify as somebody with 10 fingers and toes. It's just, how do you get to a point where you're supposed to be often a well-paid, as you just commented, a well-paid, educated person who is suckered into this idea that it's a good idea to cut off the healthy body parts of anyone, let alone somebody who's 22 and incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, it makes absolutely... I've started calling them reality deniers, not just in this field, but in all the other fields where, you know, they look at something and don't see what everybody else sees. And they kind of go, no, that's not what you mean. What you mean is this. Let's go to Gillian Keegan and find out what you make of what she said. She basically said, you know, there's a lot of conversations going on, isn't there, about the law that will basically tell schools how they should deal with this issue, how they should allow social transitioning or not.
Look, I've been following this for a long time, since 2015, and I am regularly astounded at the lack of single-sex provision in schools and the fact that this stuff has really gripped teachers. And I think we also have to look at teaching colleges and university courses where this stuff is being instilled into new teachers, and new teachers are cheaper, so therefore a lot of schools have new teachers. Then the conversation stifled in the classroom and stifled within the sort of the curriculum guidance. The government just need to be a little bit strong on this. If the government can do... When I was at school, we had like heroin sort of advert campaigns, and we had like anti-smoking stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure it's not allowed. Nobody is allowed to smoke in school. I'm pretty sure they've stopped smoking in staff rooms in schools also. Why can't they just stop this? Like, why do you need a law in order to say to schools, it's really harmful to teach this absolute crazy stuff in school? It's just a no. And if you are found to be teaching it, if you're found to be erasing the single-sex provisions for girls and boys in schools, then I'm afraid you will face some consequences. Like, how is that? Why is that difficult?
I know. It doesn't seem difficult. It seems pretty straightforward to me. But no doubt we'll be talking about this for a while. Kellie-Jay, thank you very much indeed. Kellie-Jay Keen, founder of Standing for Women there. With all of the strangeness that goes on every single day of the year now in this country, we need people like Kellie-Jay to stand up for stuff because she sees things before everybody else does.